Okay, welcome back everyone to Ming'er Weiling. Tomorrow hasn't arrived. We're gonna be doing chapter 22, 第22章, 第一戒律, which translated is the first commandment, which is quite accurate. So, see, started on March 5th and it's March 21st. So he's publishing about a pace of one or two a day, depending on his schedule. And so as I said before, there's a lot of drama at the beginning, a lot of background development, which may or may not pay off. Reading it for the first time, some of that development, like the first 200 chapters, some find are a little bit slow. Um, but I will say, it's if you could get through that, reading for the second or third time, it just makes it so much more interesting. I've read a lot of books which are great reading it the first time around, but it's so hard to read the second time around because there's really not much substance to read. Whereas a book like this, with all that drama, it really just enhances it, right? Because you're constantly reading it for different aspects. I was drawn in by the science fiction aspect, and it takes a little bit to get there. But I will say the thing that's kept me returning isn't just the scientific aspect and the thoughts, right? I always read books for the thoughts, but the drama aspect has really increased the longevity of the story. So I'm gonna clean my tools of trade. I'm gonna clean my glasses at the moment, and then we'll start reading. By the way, while I'm cleaning, I really like TDN because it always has nice sidebar commercials, advertisements. It's a little bit boring, like it can like irritate your eyes sometimes because sometimes it can distract you if you're not like super focused. But I think some of the advertising is very artistically beautiful. It's not as it's not as irritating as some of the pop-up ads on other sites. So I just really like the site advertising integration on that. Yuan. Anyway, um, yeah, sorry, my glass is still a little blurry, and I don't know why. Okay, well, once maybe just feeling. Oh, anyway, it's the best it's gonna get. So, I'll just quickly describe the events between chapter 16 to 22. So, chapter 16 through 22, some various life events happen. I won't leave too much just due to spoilers. And then you see some more character development on Lu Yuan, and all that. There's a lot of plot points I'm just gonna skip over. One is because I don't want to spoil the whole novel, and two is because I'd get exhausted trying to read every single chapter. I mean, I might, but I don't want to. I don't know. Well, I'm not gonna mention it. Anyway, let's continue. Lu Yuan let out a long sigh of relief after hanging up the phone. Sometimes dealing with Zhao Junli is really fun, or that being able to meet such a friend is really a blessing from his cultivation in his previous life. Of course, to be precise, it was indeed a blessing from his previous life cultivation, or it was a blessing he cultivated from his previous life. The behavior of Zhao Junli just now is expressed in professional terms. It should be said that it has expressed a subscription intention of $200,000 RMB. The $200,000 is not too much, and it's not too much to say it can barely be regarded as a huge sum for ordinary people. After all, if he worked for Lu Yue, he would only earn it for almost 2 years without food or drink, right? So he's talking about living wages, how long it would take to earn $200,000 with a medium income of $100,000 renminbi. What is that? 15,000, 20,000, something like that. But for Zhao Junli, who can spend thousands of dollars to invite his classmates to dinner, the money is certainly not much. But this was what Zhao Junli agreed with only a word of his own, so only to the words of Lu Yuan. This trust feels a bit heavy, even though the road is far away now, right? So, um, previously in some of my analysis videos, I analyzed friendships and relationships in China. As I said before, relationships in China are much deeper on a personal sense, and it's because of that high bar that if you betray someone, it's looked down upon very heavily unless you're doing it unless it's like for a large sum of money. But even then, right, like relationships are deep. The water runs deep in China. Of course, there must also be a bonus for the champion of his new discipline. He got first in like the college examinations and he gets scholarships and whatnot. The worst is an investment in himself. Even if it is not an investment in his own game, at least it's an investment in himself. But $200,000, it should be Zhao Junli himself, right? Without going through the home, you can use the limit of private money. So he's basically saying, this investment, he could go to a bank and get a loan or get like a personal investment from someone else, but he's getting an investment from his friend. So just a little bit of a different relationship. Of course, according to him, it's pocket money, right? But after confirming Zhao Junli's investment intentions, when his game is initially formed to make a demo, you can ask him to taste one or two at a time and really delimit the investment. However, this is a long time later. As far as I'm concerned, my top priority must be to find a way to receive the scholarship first. He's got 3.7 million. He's got 3 months to make $3.7 million renminbi. Whether it is from the school or the district or the money is my own, the much needed life-saving money is then to use to continue to intensify the game. Although after a week of hard work, Tomorrow Is Not Here has produced the first barely runnable version, but the workmanship is very rough, and it is of a completely unplayable type. It goes into the plot in some of the earlier chapters, and it's very well. He has some very nice ideas, especially with his daughter Lu Yao. Of course, if Lu Yuan tells others he has made a game that he can play in a week, others will definitely look at himself with a crazy look. After all, no matter how simple a mobile game is, you have to eat at least the code. And do not drink the code at least last month. So it takes at least a month to code. A lot of commenters saying Tetris took a little bit. After all, there's only one person. Actually, but Tetris is a psychological game. It's not that easy. After all, there's only one person. But I still have the Transportation Committee. With the help of the invincible programming ability of the Transportation Committee, Lu Yan can feel like an arm and freely construct the function he wants, especially the code written by the Transportation Committee. It is full of mechanical beauty. As long as it's written, it will be able to run. This alone does not know how many programmers Musa has. I don't know who Musa is. To put it simply, it's probably a reference. I am responsible for the gameplay and creativity, but the specific cornerstone construction, repetitive tasks such as moving bricks, are all the responsibility of the Transportation Committee. The moving bricks is another idiom as well. Has to do with millennials and not working hard, but yeah. You want to make money, do construction and move bricks. However, now that the Great Wall has taken the first step, the road is not far away. Do not consider the next step. The game is there. Although it can't be played, at least it can run. So Lu Yan began to think about whether he should buy a game engine. Of course, game engines are both cheap and expensive. Of course, open source engines are good, but sometimes paid engines have their own unique advantages. For example, it is of course a choice for some manufacturers to use their own ancestral engines. After all, the Transportation Commission or Committee itself is a super powerful processing tool. If it's not the first time to run the game, everything is simple. Lu Yan can now draw the super fine game screen of the next era. But for the time being, such game rendering is not needed. First, the process and gameplay, and finally, the rendering of the screen, is basically a universal game development concept. After all, the game is still used to be for playing. The game is still to be used for playing. The game itself is not fun, even if the screen is messy, just ask you. Real life is really unreal. Is the picture exploding in all games? So like, do you have to have the highest quality graphics in every single game? He's saying, reality is so detailed. But is reality fun? I believe that most people think that the game Earth Online should be one of the worst games in the world. It cannot be backed up. It cannot pinch people. All data is random, and it cannot be skipped. A lot of comments are saying, "Did you not reload in Earth Online?" EOL. Therefore, for the game itself, truth is secondary and fun is the key. Ever since Lu Yuan needed a game engine that performed Tomorrow Not Coming just right. Because unlike most game manufacturers, he needed to compress the game's image quality as much as possible to make the final result of the Transportation Committee can't surpass the times too much. So other people try and innovate technology. He's trying to make sure he doesn't leak technology. Interesting. The next era is the next era, but the future is a bit like that. What is that? Open fires in battle. Yes, open fires in battle. And this is what made me think this was a science fiction novel. Had a little bit of, I think it's Liu Xiu Hua. I don't know his Chinese name. But the guy who wrote the Three Body Problem, I'm pretty sure he was heavily inspired or influenced because of the title of the first commandment. Because the next sentence goes, Lu Yan never forgot the first commandment that he was reborn from beginning to end. That is to hide yourself. Whether it is the truth that tomorrow will not come, or the transportation committee in my mind, that is the ultimate crystallization of human beings in the future, it is not something outside. It is not something outsiders, parentheses, should know. There are too many technologies in the transportation committee that surpass this era, but the science and technology tree itself is not a castle in the air. People need to climb a little bit on this huge tree to find one or two fruits from time to time. And so I really thought these sentences were influenced by the three-body problem in the Dark Forest here. The real purpose of the game Tomorrow Is Not Coming is to show humans in this world a clear trajectory on the tree of science and technology. And even almost verifiable experimental data and engineering principles to secretly help humans explode in technology. Anyway, humans have been exploding in technology for so long, if they explode once in a while, not many people will be surprised, right? The premise is to hide yourself. Otherwise, the game Tomorrow Is Not Coming is unnecessary. Lu Yan thought quietly. Sorry, I need to throw more pauses. At this time, Lu Yan's cell phone buzzed again. Lu Yan looked at the number. It was an unfamiliar number. It was not the call from his father, and of course it did not belong to Sumei. So I obviously behaved so well in front of Sumei. Did that little Nitsu turn her head and forget about herself? I don't think I'm pronouncing that right, but I don't know how to say it. Thinking about this, Lu Yan couldn't help but raise his hand to touch his face. There seemed to be the touch of Sumei's lips. Although there's still the consciousness that since I was kissed by Sumei, I will still stop washing my face from today until the day I meet Sumei again. But I just thought about it, if the scene meeting Sumei again in the future is too beautiful to look at, Lu Yan still rejected this idea. Yeah. He connected to the phone. Hello, Zhang Yuan Lang, Seng Xing's Zhang Yuan Lang. No, Lang. Seng Xing's voice came from over there without any hurries. If this beautiful teacher can correct her attitude, then the voice from the mobile phone has a fascinating smell. Yeah. This just sounds nice. Of course, this is not useful for Lu Yan, who has more contact with Seng Xing. Miss Seng wants to fulfill the promise, Lu Yan said with a smile, adjusting his mentality. He clearly didn't mention the behavior of Seng Xing decisively pulling Sumei into the water. After all, this kind of thing is a bit low to remind. Yes, but the heaven nest has fallen. How can I fulfill it? Seng Xing's words were slightly smiled. After all, she herself was in a pretty good mood. So they had a promise with the Nest of Heaven. Nest of Heaven is a restaurant. It's a building in this future Los Angeles world. Seriously, think of this as Stanford and Tokyo from Big Hero 6, and it'll also start to make more sense. And so that concludes it for chapter 22. Really, I've read all that chapter for that one quote. I've compiled a list of chapters with good quotes in them. And then, yeah, we'll go 26 through, 24? Really? 24, 26, 27, and 28. Man, a lot of these future chapters can't be skipped. Okay, well, look forward to some of the next chapters where you're going to see a lot more character development and a lot more character motivations. Because a main character without character motivations is not real, right, in a sense. A lot of main characters, they have their own interests and their own goals, but if they don't have anything to live for or something like that, they kind of just seem like a character in a book, right, an MC. There's a difference between a protagonist and a character in a book. A lot of writers write their characters in a book as protagonists, and then but some writers write their characters as if they were real people, right? And there's a fine line for both authors, because they're not writers, they're authors and readers on what a real person is. Because to an author, a character, a protagonist may be their own creation, right? So that they'll seem more real. But to a reader, what seems more real will depend on how well the author's written the character and how invested a reader is, whether it be sense of substitution or just their interest in a character. Very, very meta omniscient reader level stuff. So yeah, that's chapter 22, the first commandment, and look forward to chapter 24.